just introduce me.
Yep. Hi, my name is Kay, and I'm with the Buy Blue Shopper channel. Thanks for joining. And I am introducing Laura, the state president of CLUW.
Thank you. Thank you, Kay, for allowing us to utilize your channel for the PA State CLUW series presentations of a variety of issues. Tonight's issue we are discussing is elections, voting based on issue, not party. Before we get started, I am the president of Pennsylvania State CLUW. I do have to acknowledge our sponsors. Our sponsors are Philadelphia Council AFL-CIO, Kathy Black, Pam Tranzor, honoring CWA Union Sister Extraordinaire, Sylvia Ramos, myself, Laura Wentz, and Best Insurance Pro, LLC, Jeffrey O. Jones, Vice President of Sales. This is the second of our series, actually, of this week. The one we had on Monday was Public Sector OSHA. And you can find that on, Kay, where can they find that? Sorry, I froze for a moment.
That's okay. Buy Blue Shopper with the @ first. So it's @Buy Blue Shopper. And we'll have it posted on the Facebook link.
Yes, we will. So thank you. So tonight we wanted to talk about the concept of voting for candidates based on their issues, based on your issues, the issues that are important to you, and will they help promote your issues, the things that you want to happen, and the things, and not do the things you don't want to happen, right? Too many times people vote specifically by party, and not all candidates within any one party actually support your values, right? So this is about discussing the need to talk specifically about it, to make sure you find out who is, if those candidates support your values, right? And if the candidates will vote the way you want to, will support your issues, right? So there's a variety of groups that do endorsements, do comparisons. CLUW itself we will be having handouts in the future on comparisons of the issues of different candidates on certain races. We're working with the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO and National AFL-CIO on those. Those will be coming out soon. But there are other organizations that do a lot with that. Planned Parenthood. So if your issues are women's reproductive rights, anything to do with women's bodies, or female contraception, anything like that, anything that Planned Parenthood works on, they have a pack of their own that interviews and endorses candidates. So they send out information about the candidates that they endorsed. Then you also have, at least in my area, League of Women Voters, which is a nonpartisan organization that fights for fair elections. In Philadelphia, the equivalence of that is the Committee of 70, where they, like the League of Women Voters, provide debates. They invite all the candidates to the debates. They provide questionnaires to get the comparison of the different values, different issues on the different issues for the candidates. They make sure that they have information about the different candidates on their website prior to the elections. There's also National Organization for Women now, who does endorsements and also focusing on women's issues, but not just reproductive issues. Fair pay, anything to do that affects women. And then, of course, we mentioned CLUW. We will be having comparisons. The AFL-CIO. So if you're in a union, the AFL-CIO is does endorsements. Pennsylvania AFL-CIO is doing endorsements next week. And those endorsements, information will come out about their endorsements and why they supported certain candidates. They're looking for candidates who will uphold union rights, right? Collective bargaining, will uphold union standards for safety, proper union, fair wages, fair contracts. One of the things that we run into is people get endorsements from different groups, and then once they're elected to office, they go and their actions are the opposite of those who endorse them, right? So if you are endorsed by the AFL-CIO, and then once you get in office, you start this union busting and decreasing the union population within your local government, that's union busting, right? If you don't uphold the union contracts, if you make unions wait 15 months to 2 years to get a contract, and then you don't realize that you have to pay a retro check, things like that is anti-union, right? So the AFL-CIO has been tracking the elected officials that they have endorsed, in reference to, do they support these issues? And on Monday, we had a similar workshop with Tom Totsi from Ask Me DC 88, who's working on public sector OSHA. And one of his big concerns is the AFL-CIO has in the past endorsed candidates who are elected to office right now, who are holding up public sector OSHA from moving forward to be passed. If you work in the school districts, in public schools, if you work in local governments, state governments, municipality governments, you're part of the public sector, and the state governments, right? All the unemployment compensation, career link. Okay, there's a whole lot of other public sectors in your realm, right? Jobs.
Yes, we have for the deaf and the blind. We really work hard at trying to get them jobs or just get them acclimated. Yes, absolutely.
So any of the state liquor stores, those are public sector jobs. There is no OSHA, which is in the private sector, setting guidelines and safety requirements for employers to follow. So one of the things that Tom had mentioned on Monday was that if a worker is injured or killed on the job in the public sector realm, there's no one tracking that information. That in a year, over 100 people have been killed in the public sector realm, where there's no real tracking mechanism, because there is no public sector OSHA. So that's an example of why it's really important to vote for candidates who are going to uphold union values, especially if you're a union person working in the public sector realm, right? That's one example. And then if you're an environmentalist, the Sierra Club, I know, does a variety of does comparisons for candidates that are supportive or not supportive of making sure that we actively do things to decrease our carbon footprint, to protect our trees and wildlife and the environment, and actively doing things to prevent global warming as we're encountering right now. And then the other one that I had found was Emily's List. It also is a great one that does endorsements and lists the why they supported those candidates. They deal with women's issues, equal rights throughout all jobs, right? Women are often paid less than men. they look at those issues, right? And National CLUW corresponding secretary, I believe, just hopped on, Janet Hill.
Yep.
Did you want to weigh in?
I'm honestly not certain what the question is. I literally just got here, so I'm not quite sure. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. We're talking about the importance of voting for candidates based on the issues that they stand for versus the political party that they are in. So I found recently that the political party that I was in, I thought was very progressive. But once certain people got elected to office, they showed that they really were more about power and not about helping the constituents that we serve. And so I've left that party because I did not want to be associated with the corruption that they represented. And that was only in a local level. I don't speak of the nationwide level at all. I'm just saying that from what I've experienced, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So if you want to make sure that your vote is counting and that you're voting for someone who actually shares your values, you have to do the research. And there's no guarantee that in any one particular party, they are going to do it. And on the flip side of that, I have a really good friend who's running for office, and the individual is in the opposite party that I was in. And he's very moderate and shares a lot of the same values as I am. So I'm helping him. I think it's really important to do the investigation on the different candidates that show up on your ballot, whether it's for national, for state elections, for local elections. Local elections, people don't realize how powerful they are. In Pennsylvania, they're in the odd years. So next year, your local municipalities and county elections will be taking place. There is an election every spring and every fall. And in the local elections, they're the ones that raise your taxes every day. They're the ones that raise your real estate taxes, implement earned income tax. In my municipality, they're looking to add earned income tax, but not lower the real estate tax. That's not how it's done everywhere else. If you have earned income tax, you have low real estate tax. They have put us to the brink of bankruptcy, and they're trying to dig their way out without cutting expenses. I say this as an example of why it's really important to check out the value of the candidates, because if more people had done that in my area in 2023, we might not be in this situation. But too many people just voted for a particular party and did not believe us when we said, well, if you vote for them, you're going to get earned income tax. And they didn't believe us. And then 3 days after they won the election, boom, there was earned income tax, and everyone seemed surprised. So it's just an example of why it's so important to verify that the candidates that are on your ballot are the one, that you are going to vote for, the ones that share your values. And so that is the example. So Beth is working with National CLUW and the AFL-CIO on comparisons for some of the races, and she will have her own event of this type in the near future. But I'm really glad, Beth, that you were able to join us. She is also the president of Southwestern PA CLUW. And Beth, if you'd like to say a little bit about what you're working on as a primer for what's to come.
So, hi, and thank you. So what we're doing right now is we're looking at messaging, because sometimes there's a lot of, as you were saying before, with OSHA legislation and I'm going to say raise the wage, and specifically legislation related to abortion. And you look at even voter ID, where people may say, well, they're good on labor. Well, no, they're not. Because when you look, you have to look at all of labor. It just because somebody may support labor in one aspect, they're not supporting labor all around. We have a lot of people. Yesterday, it was 15 years in Pennsylvania since the minimum wage was passed. Well, you can't say, and why hasn't this done? Well, we can't elect people that don't want to do these things, don't want to make a positive change. So again, we have to look at when we're looking at our issues, just because they're good in one aspect, it doesn't mean they're good in all aspects. And again, women's issues are so important right now. You can't, you're not supporting labor if you're not supporting all labor, especially women. That's why the things that we're doing right now, we're going to really focus on these. So stay tuned and hope we can see you shortly.
Awesome. Thank you. That's actually really great points. The minimum wage, I believe, in Pennsylvania is 125, $725 or $775 maybe. And
it's $725, and like I said, the last time we had a raise in the minimum wage was 2009, and there's no reason why. We have legislation right now to raise it to $20. We're hoping that it can be $18, but there's no reason why it shouldn't be. There shouldn't be a $20 minimum wage.
Right, and the tip wage workers, I was speaking to a bartender last night, and it's $283 for tip wage. So ideally, I would think that, I know there's a campaign for one fair wage, right? So that tip workers were being paid the same as everyone else, as their minimum wage. Because quite frankly, for the tip workers, when they get their paychecks from their employers, they get zero money because all their hourly rate from their employers go towards paying for their taxes. And the only thing that they get that goes towards them is actually the tip. And if it's in a situation where they're not getting decent tips, or people don't understand the importance of tipping, then, these workers are not able to survive on the tips alone. And unfortunately, in some situations, some restaurants, they take the percentage. If you pay with a credit card, they take the percentage that is the fee that is charged to the restaurant out of the tip that you put on that credit card. So the worker doesn't get the whole tip. So if you're out at a restaurant, please tip in cash if you can. And definitely have a conversation with the server. If you're going to put a tip on your credit card, verify that they're going to get all of it, because it's definitely worth making sure they get their tip. And Janet, would you want to weigh in at this time?
I would also say that remember that tipped workers are also sometimes hairstylists and other tipped workers, as well as servers. They may not be making very much as well. People in hotel, maids in hotels, and they're actually like the folks that are doing the cleaning in hotels. They're really crunching their income by not cleaning your room, or just doing other things so that they're not getting paid fairly. So I would actually urge people to remember that when they go to hotels.
That's a really good point. I hadn't really thought about the fact that if I didn't have them clean my room, that hurt them as far as their pay. And in reference to something that Beth had said about all workers, that's absolutely correct. There's non-union workers, there's public sector workers that do not have OSHA protections. There's private sector workers, and a lot of the private sector workers are also in the trades. And on the trade side, we do have OSHA protection, but you have some candidates that support the trade side of the equation, but not the public sector side, and vice versa, right? So, and then there's the non-union sector that is discriminated against all the time, especially if you're a woman or a woman of diversity. women are paid less than men. Sorry, men who are not Hispanic are paid a certain amount, where Hispanic men are often paid less than the other men. But the women are, I don't know what my numbers are older. I'm not sure what it is now, but it used to be like 80% or 75 to 80 cents per, a white woman was paid about 75 cents per a white man's dollar, right? And then the scale went down from there, right? For Black women, Hispanic women are paid the least, and then throughout the year, there are acknowledgments of when a woman's pay equals a man's pay from the year before. And I believe for Black women, their window is sometime in August when they finally catch up to a white man's pay for the year before, and Hispanic women catch up somewhere in November. So it's really important to vote for candidates who will protect workers' rights and fight for fair wages. Make sure they vote for the issues, the laws that will promote raising the minimum wage. People are starving on the current minimum wage. If we could get the minimum wage up to $18, $20 an hour, then people will have the opportunity to move above the living below the poverty line. And if you're not in a union, you don't have the same protections where the union negotiates your salaries. They protect you, and they make sure that you have pensions and health benefits and all that kind of stuff, as well as safe working conditions.
I just wanted to follow up with an example.
Yeah, go for it.
So in 2024, they recognized Black Women's Equal Pay Day on July 9th. So that's 191 days extra of work in order to earn what a white man made in 2023. That's 69 cents to every dollar that a white man made. This not only impacts their wages currently, this impacts pensions, and this most importantly affects their Social Security down the line. So, it's a lose, and it decreases with, like you said, Hispanic payday, Hispanic women's payday, Indigenous women's payday, as you go on and on and on. But, so it's not just what's happening now, it's happening as they get older and are going into retirement. So there is, there's a lot of legislation in the federal government that we need to pay attention to, and people need to open their eyes and see this. And we're not just out here just saying, "Oh, sign on to this piece of legislation." We need to make sure that when we say we elect people who are going to protect us, and this is what we mean.
Absolutely, you're spot on. Yeah, it's really. It's also about making sure. So, like, one of the ways you can do it is create a list of all the issues that are important to you, right? And then go and look up those candidates, but not just look up what's on their websites, because they're going to tell you whatever they think you want to hear. If they're incumbents, you can go and see what their voting record was, right? How did they vote on issues that are on your list, on the laws that are issues that are that affect the laws that affect the issues that are on your list, right? I had a state rep for many years who was a Democrat and voted against my reproductive rights 18 times while she was in office. It took me a while to realize that, and the only way I found out was through CLUW, that's what she was actually doing. So just because they are part of a particular party doesn't mean they share all of your values, right? So go through your list, compare, look them up on their website, see what they say there. look up on, so if reproductive rights are important to you, double check with check with CLUW, check with Planned Parenthood, check with Emily's List, right? Women's issues, check with those 4 realms to see if those candidates are being supported by these organizations, right? And same for environmental issues, right? Sierra Club, I'm sure there's a lot of other environmental issues, environmental clubs, organizations that do endorsements as well. Any aspect of your issue, you can find reputable organizations that do endorsements, right? Unions, AFL-CIO, right? Along with CLUW, because we represent unions. So there's a whole variety of ways of doing it, but definitely, I know it can be annoying to do it, but it's really important to make sure, without a doubt, especially if they're incumbents, right? Because they made promises. You got to make sure they are keeping their promises. Make sure they're keeping that campaign promise that they were going to fight for your rights, that they were going to raise the minimum wage. And if they voted at any point in time against raising the wage, then that's something you have to consider. And then also, if you have the opportunity to speak to the candidates, ask the hard questions. Don't let them give you easy answers. Make sure you have solid questions and a follow-up question prepared. Because there's the sugar-coated answer that they like to give in hopes that you don't have the next deeper question. And it's really their job to give you straight answers versus the concept of you just electing them and then they do whatever they want and completely disrespect all your values and all the promises that they made to get there, right? So, Kay, was there anything you wanted to add?
No, I think that's good. I mean, we have to stay close. We have to pay, don't let them forget about us after the election.
Yes, hold their feet to the fire. Absolutely. Janet?
Also, don't assume that just because of their gender that they might support reproductive rights, because I was recently surprised by someone who was being interviewed by PA State Now that I thought this day and age that women supported reproductive rights, and she did not. She did not support the quote-unquote abortion on demand.
Wow.
Which was a lovely little Republican talking point.
Right. And then along with, and then there's female contraception. Before the Affordable Care Act, women had to pay for female contraception, but Viagra was covered by the insurance company the moment it was created. And women had to fight to get protection. And once it was covered under the Affordable Care Act, but in Philadelphia before then, former President Kathy Black had to fight for it to get it at least covered in the union contracts for the union workers in Philadelphia. And that was the only way that, that was one of the ways that unions protected their workers, by making sure the health insurance covered the female contraception. And that's another example of where the unions don't just help us as far as regulating our salaries and pension and healthcare. Their unions are responsible for the 40-hour work week, the 8-hour work day. There's so many different ways in which they've impacted the way people work and what people should consider safe working conditions, things like that. All of that comes from the unions. If the employers had their way, they would not do any. There wouldn't be overtime after 40 hours. In fact, Project 20 2025 is looking to change that up a little bit. That is something that we are going to do some segments on Project 2025 to break it down and analyze it. We'll fit it in between the other events that we already have planned. But I just, that's an example of a really bad potential policy that will come our way if those who support it are elected. And there's a lot of misconceptions that are out there on what it means. So we will definitely tackle parts of that directly affect us in the future. But that's another example of something to watch out for. So, and I apologize for the kitty cat visitors that are behind me and the one who just passed through.
That's fine.
And they like to be on they like to, add their 2 cents in as well. So,
made it into the house. You might have seen mine. So,
Yeah.
Well, you know what certain people say about those those cats. We've already had comments about those crazy cat ladies. So we consider it an honor. So, anyways,
yes.
I just wanted to add.
Yeah, go for it.
Just a couple things. We had, unfortunately, we weren't able to get the Right to Contraception Act passed. But, between now, we have a short window to get legislation passed. I'm not sure how much time we have. The National Legislative and Political Action Committee is going to be working once we get through the cycle, because we know right after this this session ends, which is going to be that little short window, then they're going to go into, full election mode in both, nationally and in the state legislature. But, in the beginning of the year, there's going to be a lot of legislation, how this starts. The key is when you're talking to these, your legislators, you want to make sure that they're not just going to be a yes vote. You want to make sure that they're co-sponsoring legislation when we're talking about it. And I think one of the most important things we need to do with the legislative committee is we need to get you talking points. And I think we're going to be working with the national officers on getting that all together, because having these talking points available to our CLUW members is that important. So we're all on the same, we're right in line with each other. We have and know what to say, but it's not just important saying, yeah, I just support your issue. It's just, no, are you co-sponsoring this legislation? Because that locks them in. So I just, hopefully, the end of this session is ending. We've done a lot of work. Let's put it this way. This administration had three pieces of legislation unlike any other. We had, the Violence Against Women's Act was finally signed into law. We had the Pump Act, and we had the, oh my goodness, what was the other one that I always,
Workers' Fairness Act.
Yep, there it goes. That's three key pieces of legislation for women. So I think we did pretty good in 2.5 years. So, but we still have a lot of work to do, and we know we have, we will get it done, but we have to work together, and we have to really keep our eyes open. So, that's really all I wanted to say.
No, that's a great point. And in order to get it done, we need to elect the candidates that support these issues, that will fight for these issues. And you're right, co-sponsoring is really important. But I have to say, for the legislators, they have to, at least on the Pennsylvania side, there's a chicklet description of what a bill is going to be about. And then they try and get sponsors based on that chicklet. And then they go and write the bill. And sometimes it's completely different than what was on that chicklet. So once the bill is finally written, I'd say once you've read it, you know exactly what it's about. Please become a sponsor of it, co-sponsor of it. Because it's bad if you co-sponsor a bill based on a chicklet and then what they write is the opposite of what you thought it was going to be. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We do need them to co-sponsor the issues the bills based on, the issues that we are fighting for, and stay away from the bills that we don't like, or, that do not support workers and protect the environment and things like that.
Right. Those phone calls are just as important to, not just those that we want them to support, but we also got to make sure that we're calling people and saying, look, this bad legislation is out there and we need you to, we want to make sure that you're nowhere near it. Because
Right.
sometimes, you have other groups that may slide in, especially if it is a labor bill. We need to stand up and we need to say, hey, it may be good for this labor group, but this is why it's bad for us.
Right. And to that point, legislators need to know whether you support or don't support a bill, because a lot of times people only call when they don't support something, but they don't call when they do support something. So if the legislator hasn't gotten any calls in support of something, but then they've gotten a lot of calls against it, then it puts them in a tough situation. So whether you support or don't support a bill, please reach out to your state and federal legislators and tell them about it. Tell them what your concerns are. Tell them how it will negatively or positively affect you and your family, and your friends, your coworkers, that kind of thing. But definitely, you're right. They have to hear from you, and they have to hear positive and negative. And that'll give them the support they need to do what they have to do, especially if they're, working in the same direction that we are. So absolutely. Right. So I know it's an important issue. Just wanted to get the conversation started. This is the beginning of our elections series events. We're going to be doing ones on the importance of voter registration, voter education. This is part of the voter education side. Beth will be hosting another one in the future once she's got her stuff figured out with National and AFL-CIO on the candidate comparisons and so forth, and the legislative stuff that she wants to share. She'll have one in the future. On our already scheduled series events, at the moment, our next scheduled event is in September 7th, 2024 at 10:30 in the morning with Kathy Black, Emeritus President of Philly CLUW, talking about Working Families Act. And we are going to have some events in August. I just have to double check some dates. And we will probably use some of August to do some events on the project, analyzing the Project 25. And as soon as Beth knows when she wants to do her event, we'll get that date in and rock that out as well. And then I also want to thank our sponsors again. Those who sponsored our convention have rolled over as sponsors into our series. And that's Philadelphia Council AFL-CIO, Kathy Black, Pam Tronsor, honoring CWA Union Sister Extraordinaire, Sylvia Ramis, Laura Wentz, myself, and Best Insurance Pro LLC, Jeffrey O. Jones, Vice President of Sales. If you want to sponsor the series for our series, it's $100 contribution to CLUW. The funds will go to support our chapters, as well as hopefully sending people, our members, to events and so forth. So if you do want to, please send an email to pastatecluw@gmail.com, and I will send you the information on how to sponsor. I'll also put it on our PA State CLUW Facebook page. So I'll make a post on that as well. And we do have other series that we don't have, series events that we do not have dates for yet. I just actually reached out to Janet about the clarification on the date for implicit bias with Dana Marino, the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service as well as I have to reach out to get a clarified date on Tradeswomen Build the World with Tim Sherd. And then we have other voter registration and education trainings to come in the future. What?
So we're not on for August 22nd?
Was August 22nd implicit bias?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't get that date. So yes, so August 22nd is implicit bias.
Janet, is that okay?
Is that right?
Yeah, let me double check. I need to double check. I think that is what Dana gave me, but I need to double check.
Okay.
I never put it on my calendar. Thank you for verifying. Okay.
No, that's fine.
And then Beth, as soon as you're ready, you'll lead one of these events and share, do your training. Okay. Okay. And then the other thing is, if you are not a member of CLUW, Coalition Labor Union Women, please join. There are a variety of ways to join. You can join through CLUW.com to join National CLUW. And then if you live in York County and Adams County, once you've joined National CLUW, then you can reach out to Kay. Kay, please give your email address.
Yes, I'm KAY period Kraut, KROUT @yahoo.com.
Right, and then if you are in the western part of southwestern PA, you can reach out to Beth. What is the best way for them to reach out to you to join your chapter?
It's CLUW, CLUWSWPA @gmail.com. But but join on the national webpage.
Right. So yes. Go to CLUW.org to register as a member. If you've never joined before, it's only $35 to join. If you are a student or a retiree, it's $15. And then there are chapter dues. If you are in the Philadelphia area and you wish to join Philly CLUW, you can go to PHILLYCLUW.org and sign up on their website. You can pay national CLUW and chapter dues from their website directly. We are going to be reestablishing Neshaminy Bucks CLUW and Delaware Chester County CLUW chapters. Hopefully in the fall, we're going to be getting the ball and reestablishing, York, White Rose CLUW, York and Adams County CLUW as well. So please join National CLUW, and then we'll be able to, and you can always contact me at pastatecluw@gmail.com. Thank you for putting our email address on the screen. If you want, so that I can help get you to the chapter that's best for you. The determination of the best chapter for you is whether it can be where you work or where you live. So whichever one it works best for you is the chapter that you get connected with. And there's Central PA CLUW as well. That's in Harrisburg, PA. And their content, and it's Naisha McGill is the chapter president. And her email address is n.mcgill@afscme.org. I will make sure to put the chapter's information on our Facebook page so that you can find the information and connect with the chapters. So please come out and join CLUW. There are so many things that CLUW does, educational programs. The national NEB and conventions provide, during NEBs, they do workshops for building leadership, unions, organizing, public speaking. I have to remember my training from the public speaking class I took, all kinds of things. So it's a great, CLUW is an incredible organization that empowers women to run for office, to get involved, to have a voice in the leadership around them, and anything that is important to you. We want women to succeed. We want to break down the glass ceilings. We want to kick open the doors that have been shut from us, and not just kick the door open, but reach back and grab as many of our sisters and those of diversity and grab them and pull them and LGBTQ plus, and pull them in the door, through the door with us. And that's part of what CLUW is about. We fight for, we are a co-ed coalition fighting for women's rights, union rights, worker rights, human rights, Mother Earth's rights, immigrants' rights throughout the country and the world. So please come and get involved and join CLUW, and yeah, and take part. And we'll definitely, if you want to run for office, we will give you the training to do it. I myself am an elected official in Upper Darby. I'm councilwoman at large, and I had the support I needed to run because of being a member of CLUW and being a leader, being empowered through CLUW to become a leader of CLUW, and to believe in myself to know that I could do it. So I hope that you run for office. I hope that you will fight for the issues that are important to you, and come out and join CLUW. Sisters, do you have anything else you want to add? No? Okay, great. Well, thank you all so much for taking part. Thank you for all your words of wisdom, my sisters. Really appreciate you. So thank you. And thank you, Kay, for hosting us for this workshop on your channel.
No problem. I'm honored. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you all very much.
All right. Good night.
Good night.